What's up, everybody? Cortez here, Move Abroad and Thrive. We're going live in just a moment. Well, we're already live. I'm just going to give this thing a few moments for people to log in, and we're going to chit chat a little bit. Shows up. Y'all bear with me here, as I don't do a lot of these, so I'm still kind of familiarizing myself with this software. Man, this shooting in Kansas City it's got my mind blown. You know, it's like every time we turn the TV on, there's another story of a shooting. People are hanging out at a peaceful event, and then things just go crazy. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And we've been living here in Mexico now for about 3 years. Well, 3 years in in June. And we live in what is considered the second safest city in all of North America. And that consists, as Canada, United States, and Mexico. And so it's shocking to see, and I'm safe. I'm safe. I feel safe. We walk around, we go places, we go to events, and we're not concerned about our safety at all, ever. Literally. And so I forget how safe it is until I turn on the news and see things like this. It's sad, really, really, really sad. I'm just checking some other settings, just making sure that I can be seen. Sad, really, really sad. All right, I think everything is working. Just making sure. So, is there a way I can see how many viewers is on? I'm using another software to broadcast this live, and I thought I would be able to see something that is indicating how many folks are currently on. If y'all have questions, feel free to post them in the comments and we'll address those. But like I say, we're in the second safest city in North America, and I forget how safe we are until, like I say, until we turn the news on and I'm reminded. The 3 years to 2.5 years that we've been here, I felt completely safe. My daughters, we are currently in Mexico. My daughters, they roam the streets, they hang out, they go places, they do what they want to do. And I'm not concerned the least for their safety. And again, I forget. You can see below the title of the video channel. Okay. All right, I see it. I'm using some software called StreamYard. Okay, I see it. There you go. Thank you for that, Bree Powered. I'm like, man, I don't know what's going on. But the media will have you believe that everywhere else in the world is bad, but the United States is safe. I was reading an article earlier today where the State Department was warning people not to come to different cities in Mexico. But when you looked up the data and the statistics and stuff like that, you were finding that, man, it was far safer for Americans to go to places like Cancun, which is considered dangerous by many. But the crime rate was significantly lower than some parts of Texas. And so it's like, okay, make that make sense. United States government is warning folks not to go to Cancun, not to go to, different cities in Mexico. Don't go to Mexico City, but the crime rate in many of these states in the U.S. is far worse. than that. So, you know, I don't know, man. That got me to thinking. I wanted to look up. Yeah, Rennie, you're right. It's gotten very ridiculous. You know, like, yeah, you can't even go to a parade, can't even go to the movie theater, can't even go to the supermarket and buy some eggs. You know what I'm saying? It's gotten that bad. Um, you know, when I went to my daughter's wedding, we all flew back in November, this past November, and it was like, you know, we turned on the news just trying to see what was happening, and then you're seeing all of the crime that they're reporting, and it's like, man, I'm kind of nervous about going back, you know. And so we flew into Atlanta, and so we was looking at the news for Atlanta, just listening and seeing all the folks, hearing about all the deaths and all of that stuff that was going on, carjackings, smash and grabs, and all of that. Folks holding folks up at gunpoint. It was like, man, do we really want to go into Atlanta? Do we need to go back to Atlanta? You start getting paranoid after you've been sitting in a place where you weren't concerned about your safety or worried about getting shot or robbed. I had a brother-in-law and my sister-in-law. I mean, they went to a restaurant one day, and some guy walked up to him and just had his hand in his pocket with a gun. He walked up to him and said, "You know what time it is." You know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's like, this is ridiculous. Can't even go out to dinner. Can't even take your girl out. Can't go hang out with your kids without somebody cutting the slap food. Bree Powered. I grew up in East Chicago, Gary, Indiana. Hold on one second. I know y'all hear me on this live and y'all back there screaming they can on. Really? That's what they do over here. They wait till I get on here and be quiet all day, and I start going on live. Now they want to cut up in the back. But yeah, you're right. Things have gotten. I heard about Gary, Indiana. I got some friends who live there, and they talk about how unsafe it is there. You know, so today briefly, you know, I was reading some stuff. Some of these other places talking about. Let me share. See if y'all can see this on the screen. Talking about some safe country, other places in the world where it's safe. And so I was reading that today and I was like, wow, okay, here are the 10 safest countries in the world. This is 2023. The 2024 listing is practically the same. And one thing that you'll notice in these 10 safest countries, the U.S. is not even on the list. In fact, let me jump to this other. I'm gonna jump to this other list here. Safest countries in the world for 2024. A total of 163 countries are featured. And when you look at the United States, I'm trying to find it. It was, let's see here. The United States ranked 129th. You know what I mean? In terms of the top 15 safest countries in the world, the United States ranked 129. So the first country, the safest country in the world, is a place here called Iceland. You know, that was actually on our list of cities or countries to go visit. Kids wanted to go see the Northern Lights, and you know, we said one day we will make that journey. We're supposed to have done it about a year or two ago, but everybody got sick after we got settled in here in Mexico. But Iceland is number one, top of the list. Let me hop back to this list here. I'm gonna jump down to the number one. I think they break it down. Okay. Sorry, y'all. I'm just familiarizing myself. All right, maybe I should just have stayed at the other list. Let me go back. So, all right, I think I'm showing that. So Iceland is number one on the list. According to the Global Peace Index, Iceland is the safest country in the world for the 14th year in the world. Iceland is a Nordic nation with a relatively small population of 340,000 people, have a very low level of crime, which is typically attributed to its high standard of living, small population, strong social attitudes against crime, a high level of trust in its well-trained police force, and the lack of tension among social and economic classes. Iceland has no military, and the police do not carry firearms. Which brings up a good point. When we look at this story here in Kansas City, there were over 800 cops at the parade. There were 800 cops at the parade. And so when you put that number into perspective, it's like with 800 police officers, you ain't even safe. Now we just read about Iceland being the safest place in the world for 14 years in a row, and they police officers don't even carry guns. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. They don't even carry guns. The police officers don't carry guns in Iceland because of how safe it is. And here today, there were 800 cops, and I'm going to assume all 800 cops had guns on them today. And guess what? Folks still out there cutting a slap food, shooting up the place. So you're not even safe, even in the so-called police state. Essentially that's what we are. We're living in a police state. So maybe at this point it's time to consider going somewhere else. Because you ain't safe. We never felt, I've never really, when we lived in the States, I'm going to say right now we're currently living in Mexico. When we lived in the States, we were very particular about choosing the individual cities and areas that we lived in. We were looking at, there's this website called City Data. We would look at the different, pull up city data, type in the cities and all of the cities surrounding where we were considering living, and just pulling up data, looking at the statistics about crime, education levels, what else? Schools, and City Data website always threw back a crime index. The higher the number, the higher the crime. And so the lower the crime index, the less crime. So we always gravitated to those cities where the crime index was very low, and we always felt safe. Now, once we ventured outside of those areas, you can feel the crime. You can feel the tensions and the violence, and feel like something was going to pop off at any moment. You know what I'm saying? It was crazy. But again, here you are at a parade with 800 armed police officers, and the violence still pop off. I think the last thing I read, 22 people were shot. 2 are confirmed dead, or 3 have been confirmed dead as of my last reading. So again, when you read about places like Iceland, where it says Iceland has no military and the police do not carry firearms, they only carry extendable batons and pepper spray. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. So, you might want to put Iceland on your list. Now, for some folks, you may say, well, those places are probably going to be expensive. One of the things that I've learned, because we traveled a lot, particularly all around the United States, and we lived in some exotic places. So, for example, we lived in a city in Florida called Amelia Island. Folks from all over the world would descend on Amelia Island for vacation. Throughout the year, they had a Ritz-Carlton on the island. So we lived on this island, beautiful island. And, folks would say how expensive it was. However, there were always these pockets. There were always these small pockets where you found very affordable housing, very affordable rentals, affordable places to buy. And so Iceland, I'm sure there's some affordable spots in there. At some point, hopefully maybe this year or later in the year, that will be a country we'll visit. And as with any places that we go to, we will document what life is like in Iceland, hang around for about a month or two, check it out, investigate it, and report. New Zealand on this list, second safest country in the world. Like Iceland, New Zealand has a very low crime rate, and violent crime is especially rare. Theft is still worth guarding against, especially in tourist areas, which holds true for every country in the world, but overall risks are minimal. Unlike its neighbor Australia, which is known for its dangerous wildlife, New Zealand has no deadly animals. New Zealanders are generally open-minded and have laws in place to prevent the violation of anyone's freedom of speech or expression. And then Iceland police officers in New Zealand do not carry personal firearms. I have a buddy that lives in New Zealand. And again, there are many parts of New Zealand where it's very expensive. And there are other parts where it's super, super affordable. So again, like I say, I'm just looking at this list, just reading the data, just because, wondering what would be considered the 10 safest places in the world to live, and came across this list. I compared it against other lists, and many other countries all seem to appear across the board on all of these lists. So again, the goal really, like I say, we've been living abroad. We've been living in Mexico. It's very safe in the city called Mérida in the Yucatan state, in the southern part of Mexico. And quality of life here has been wonderful, has been great. My goal here really at Move Abroad and Thrive is really just to encourage folks to look outside of the place that they currently live, and just consider some other options, because there are options. If crime and violence is something that worries you, there are other places in the world that you can go where you won't have to worry about it. I've been meeting a lot of other folks that have been making their way down here, that are reaching retirement age, and many of their fears is just walking outside their home or going to the store and being robbed. The United States, man, they don't respect their elderly. They don't respect the senior citizens. They don't respect seniors. You know what I mean? But there are other cultures all over the world where the seniors are respected. So if you don't, I was talking to a guy a few weeks ago, and he was like, "Man, I gotta go. I've been robbed 3 times already." It's a senior citizen, a veteran in the military, and he's afraid to walk out his door just to go to the convenience store to go buy whatever he need to buy without fear of somebody trying to rob him, take his stuff, take his money. Talked about how one time he went to the store and bought some groceries and somebody robbed him and took his groceries. You know what I mean? Senior. This is a senior in the United States of America, superpower, the richest nation on earth. And this is what their seniors are having to contend with, being robbed in the street when they go down there and get some groceries. Somebody's just going to take their groceries. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. So you don't have to put up with that. There's places you can go where they want to treat you better. Go where you're celebrated. And when I say go where you're celebrated, doesn't mean necessarily folks happy to see you or craving to see you, but, where you're treated right. You know what I mean? Where folks ain't going to just do you wrong, rob you, take your stuff, hold you up at gunpoint. You know what I mean? Like I said, at this parade today, there were 800 police officers present, all probably armed, and yet they still cutting the food. But these last 2 countries that we just looked at, you know what I mean, the safest two safest countries in the world, and the police officers don't even carry guns. So again, don't look at what other people are saying about these places. Do your research. Um, you know, Ireland became notably more peaceful in 2021 and vaulted from the 11th place to 3rd place in 2022. Crime is quite low outside of a few city neighborhoods, and there is little threat of cultural violence or terrorism. In fact, the Irish landscape may possess a greater safety risk than its people. The country's breathtaking cliffs and winding country roads must be treated with respect, especially during a sudden rainstorm or in areas with no cell reception. You know what I mean? So here's Ireland, Denmark. That Denmark is another place we wanted to go visit as well. They rank number 4 on the Global Peace Index. Is another one of the safest and happiest countries. And Denmark always come up as the happiest country in the world. Denmark is one of the few countries where people report feeling safe at any time of day or night, even children. Denmark has a high level of equality and a strong sense of common responsibility for social welfare, 2 qualities that contribute to its citizens' feelings of safety and happiness. Corruption is rare in Danish business or politics, as honesty and trust are top priorities. While Denmark has a high personal income tax, it funds social programs that ensure all people receive services and perks that help them live comfortable lives. For example, everyone in Denmark has access to tuition-free higher education and healthcare with no additional fees to them, and the elderly are provided at-home care helpers. I mean, for peace of mind, isn't it worth possibly, looking into that? Why not? You know what I mean? Why not? It's let me see if I can enlarge this a little more. It's worth taking a look at if you're trying to live in a place where you have some peace. Excuse me. We was watching a documentary some time ago on Denmark. And like I said, before we started traveling, we were looking at all countries, looking at the data, looking at the stats, looking at the information, looking at the crime rate. I wasn't going to allow some preconceived notions and ideas to get into my way in terms of whether or not I was going to consider a particular place worthwhile in terms of looking into it. So Denmark, we was doing some research on that, and like the article just said, they might pay a higher income tax, personal income tax, but they get a lot of perks and benefits. I can't remember, when you married or not married and you have a baby, the woman's pregnant, she has the baby, she gets like 90 days or 6 months off, paid. The job, she gets paid her full salary. And not only that, the husband or the father of the baby, he also got like 2 or 3 months off, paid. It was mandatory. You know what I mean? These are the type of perks that these folks are getting in other countries. You know what I'm saying? So why not look into many of these other places that can afford you, a better life, a better quality life? Healthcare was covered. Like the article said, education, people who wanted to go to college, they didn't have to pay. It was free. Crime extremely low. So again, do your research, find a place that works for the goals that you have. I'm going to say this. I know a large part of my audience are Black, and oftentimes we as a people like to self-segregate ourselves. And, some of y'all might be looking at some of these countries and saying, man, there ain't no Black folks there. I promise you, Black folks in all parts of the world. And some folks have, the idea that, hey, because I'm Black, they won't treat me well. I won't be welcomed. Again, Do the research. Don't be too concerned about what other folks are saying. Go check it out for yourself. We've been to so many places and and lived in so many places. And and in most cases, never ever had a problem. You know what I mean? Even when we lived on that island, in Florida, zero issues. You know what I mean? So again, do the research, go investigate for yourself. Don't get caught up into what other people are saying. Go check these places out for yourself. So Austria, they ranked number 5, 5th safest country in the world for 2022. While violent demonstrations in the wake of ongoing social unrest remain a concern, these are relatively easy to avoid, and otherwise, Austria is a very safe country to visit. Serious crimes are uncommon. Additionally, Austria has been spared any major acts of terrorism in recent years. Portugal, a lot of people moving to Portugal. 6th in the most peaceful countries rankings for 2022. Make sure y'all keep an eye on this dog. He probably need to go out and pee. In 2014, Portugal was ranked 18th globally and has since made significant strides. Unlike Iceland and New Zealand, Portugal have armed police officers. However, an increased police presence has resulted in a decreased crime rate in the country. In recent years, hey, y'all too loud. In recent years, Portugal has experienced an economic resurgence, decreasing its unemployment rate from over 17% to under 7%. Portugal consistently ranks among the best countries for retirement, due in no small part to its high level of safety. Again, this safety factor for many folks is a real thing. It is straight up real. And again, I've been sharing some of these crazy stories that I've shared that have been shared with me from other seniors, other veterans from the military. They walking down the street with their groceries in their hand, and folks are robbing them for their groceries, taking their money, taking their coat, the clothes like their jackets. Young folks having their shoes taken off of them in the streets. You know what I mean? You don't have to live with that, especially if you're retired and you got a pension or you got a retirement income coming in. There are other places in the world where you're going to be treated very well and treated with some serious respect. Like I say, in these other cultures, they respect their seniors. Hey, y'all see me on this live. I need y'all to be quiet, back off, and go somewhere else. Move it. I'm sorry, y'all. I got all these folk down here causing a commotion. Let's see here. Life with Shay. This is what I mean. They talk about other places and look at this. I love my country, but I feel don't love me. People that look different from me don't like black people. They put us all in the. I couldn't see the other part of that. Okay, this is what I mean. But again, like I say, y'all go check these places out for yourself and come up with your own. Is there a reason all y'all conjugated down here? All right. I'm sorry, y'all. There's just a lot of distractions going on down here. But yeah, go check it out. Go check it out. Going back to this list here. Let me pull it back up. Bear with me. I'm still familiarizing myself with this software, y'all. So bear with me. Slovenia, one of the former constituents of Yugoslavia, had a high safety ranking that can be attributed to its excellent scores in 3 categories: travel security, medical risk, and road safety. Like many Slavic states, Slovenia installed a democratic government in the mid-90s and is now focused on improving quality of life in many areas, including safety and sustainability. Czech Republic. My daughter went to the Czech Republic as an exchange student for 12 months, for a year, I think 9 months to be exact. She absolutely loved the country. Crime rates in the Czech Republic have steadily decreased over the years, with rates of violent crime in particular dropping significantly. The Czech Republic also has low incidence of terrorism and natural disasters. Finally, the country boasts many clean and efficient hospitals and a state-run health insurance system that offers affordable rates and enables near universal coverage. Go check these places out. Number 9, Singapore. Singapore ranks 9th on the GPI for 2022. In the Gallup report from 2018, Singapore residents felt the highest sense of personal security and had more positive experiences with law enforcement than did residents of any other country. Singapore has one of the lowest crime rates in the world, possibly due to the severe penalties that are issued for even small crimes. The government and police strictly control guns and other firearms, and violent and confrontational crimes are rare in Singapore. As a city-state, Singapore also ranks as the 2nd safest city in the world, according to the Safe Cities Index from the Economist Intelligence Unit. In 2019, Singapore ranked 1st for infrastructure security and personal security, 2nd for digital security, and 8th for health security. A lot of options. You got options out there, folks. You don't have to stay and deal with a lot of the nonsense. That's one thing I like about traveling. You go to different places and you get a chance to see how different things are. Different doesn't necessarily mean, our way is the right way and everybody else is wrong, or they are wrong and we're right and they're wrong, or they're wrong and we're right. None of that. You know what I mean? It's just different. Like I say, here we've been living in Mexico for 2.5 years. While they do a lot of things different, and listen, in Mexico, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There are parts of Mexico where it's very violent, a lot of drug crimes, violent crimes, a lot of that having to do with the cartel. But there are other parts of Mexico where it's super safe, and like I said, we're in one of those parts. You know what I'm saying? And it's safe. Don't feel concerned for our safety. When we went to our daughter's wedding in November, we drove to Cancun, which is about a 3.5-hour drive from Merida. We drove, no incident, straight shot, parked our car at the airport, flew out for 10 days and flew back and drove back from Cancun all the way back to Merida. Didn't feel the least bit threatened. We made some stops along the way. Didn't feel threatened one bit. I interviewed a guy today who's also been living here for about 2.5 years. Asked him if he was ever considering moving back to America. He was like, no, I ain't moving back to America. They just bought a house and they're completely remodeling the place here in Mexico. And he said, hey, this is where I'm going to die. This is my last place. This is my last home. Sold their house. A lot of people that are moving to Mexico. There's over 1 million Americans and 1 million U.S. citizens living in Mexico and calling Mexico home. It's their permanent home. 1 million U.S. citizens living in Mexico, and they're calling it home. This is home. This is home for us. Sorry, got some. But yeah, so this is home for us. And it's going to be home base. We're going to travel to other parts of the world, check things out. But for the most part, this is home. I'm going to hop back down to number 10 here. Let me pull this up. Make the screen a little bigger. So number 10, safest place, the 10th safest country in the world for 2022. And this is an updated list for 2024. I don't know why they're still saying 2022. Japan has been in the top 10 countries in the Global Peace Index for 14 years, consistently receiving high marks for low crime rates, minimal internal conflict, and virtually non-existent political unrest. Japan's proximity to potentially hostile neighbors, China and North Korea, could become a threat to its safety at some point, but has not thus far. Japan is known for citizens having limited access to firearms, as the Japanese do not view carrying a firearm as an individual's right. According to the Safe Cities Index from the Economist Intelligence Unit, Tokyo was the safest city in the world in 2019, ranking first in cybersecurity, second for health security, and fourth for infrastructure security and personal security. So, and the Japanese respect their elders, respect their seniors. You know what I'm saying? They give them the utmost respect. And, you know, and even Mexico, where we at here in Mexico, they have separate lines. Like you go to the grocery store, you go to, you know, different event venues, they have separate lines exclusively for seniors. They don't have to go wait in the long line. I know when we lived in Colombia, South America, we would go to parks and amusement parks where they might have long lines. Also get on the bus, or they had this trolley system that carried you across from one area to the other area. And if there was a line, the seniors would, along with their families, with the family members tagging behind them, the seniors, they would just walk to the front of the line and nobody said a doggone thing. They went straight to the front of the line. And again, not an issue. And if they had their grandchildren with them, if they had their adult children with them, nobody said anything, because that senior had seniority and he can go to the front of the line. They'd also go to the front of the line in the grocery stores. They didn't have to wait. They just go to the front. That's the value that a lot of these places put on their seniors and their elders. They respect them. And if you're not being respected where you're at, for whatever reason, consider going to the place where you're respected. You know what I mean? And again, so those were just a small sampling of countries that were ranked the top 15 places in the world. This is another list that was written by the New York Post. Again, many of the cities are they're here. Number 10, Switzerland. Number 9, Japan. Number 8, Slovenia. 7, Portugal. Singapore. And Singapore, man, is a beautiful place from what I hear. A lot of folks talk about Singapore. And think about it. Not just, so there are other safe places just like this, just like they have on this list. And you can find other places like Thailand, Vietnam, South Korea. And Thailand and Vietnam is very cheap, very affordable, particularly if you have a small pension, small retirement, and you needed to stretch. You can get a whole lot for your money in places like Vietnam and Thailand. And you can, and so again, don't limit yourself just to this list. There's other places. Look at the data, look at the crime statistics, look at the stats. Read other reports for people that are living on the ground. Join these different Facebook groups for these different countries and cities. You know, there's some beautiful places in the world. And like I said, this year we hope to resume doing some traveling abroad just to check some places out and stick around for a few months so we can document it. New Zealand was also on our list of places to go. Let me see if I can zoom in on this a little bit. New Zealand is like I say, New Zealand is a place that's on our list to go check out. Look at that. That's beautiful, ain't it? Ireland. Look at that. Denmark. And so this list mimics the one that we just read. You know, Finland, overall winner. That's another place. That's not on our list, but it keeps popping up in many places. Finland, according to the organization compiling the GPI, deserves a special mention as one of the best, happiest, and safest places to see this year. Low crime and violence rates, as well as a low mortality rate and decreased risk of natural disasters, has allowed the Scandinavian country closest to Russia to be considered a top locale to see. So I don't know, have any of you all, and again, feel free to ask questions. Have any of y'all, what places have you been to that have been very safe for you, where you weren't concerned about your safety? I like to hear from some of y'all and just share some of the places that you've been. Just post them in the comments below. And I'm curious because I'm trying to come up with a short list. I've done my research. I'm trying to look for places like that's off the beaten path, places that folks are not familiar with or not talked about as common. You know, when I first found Merida, I was excited because I was like, I never heard of this place, never heard of Merida. And so it's kind of like this hidden jewel, you know, now it's getting all this national attention and press and all of that. So what places have y'all been to that are places that are not even popular? I'm curious. Bree Powers says, I used to go to Puerto Rico as a kid to visit family, but it's no longer safe. Really? Wow. Was it expensive when you were going? I know you said you were a kid, so I don't know if you would remember, but I'm curious if Puerto Rico is expensive as mainland United States. And again, if y'all been to any places unique, unknown places off the beaten path, post in the comments. I would love to hear where y'all have been. And also, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share, get this information out, because folks, man, a lot of folks are scared and they're looking for another path. Barbados, been there like 10 times. Wow. Barbados. I'm writing this stuff down. She loves Cam, been to Barbados 10. What was it about Barbados that you liked that much to go back 10 times? Wes says he's been to Rosito. How do you pronounce that? Rosito, Mexico, Baja California. What was it that you all liked about these places, just out of curiosity? Barbados. And was there a certain part of Barbados that you liked or stayed at? Barbados. Because I'm going to look this stuff up. Turks and Caicos. Yeah, I hear that was beautiful. That's a beautiful place. Turks and I'm just writing this stuff down because, again, I'm trying to get out of here and look at some other places just to see what else is out there. Iceland is very big on my list for sure. Also, I'm gonna post a link here. Let me see here. Yes. I'm gonna post a link in the comments if you all would like to come up and chat and share your experiences or share your stories about life in America or feeling unsafe or sharing any of the places that you've been to and traveled to and seen, click on that link and it will allow me to invite you up on this platform and talk. So if you feel like doing that, y'all feel like getting on, feel free to do that. Barbara, she loves Cam, says Bartles weather, use the US dollar, English speaking. Is Barbados expensive? I don't know if you answered that. Bree Power said, I think homes in Puerto Rico are expensive now since San Juan property prices gone up from expats purchasing homes for tax purposes. Wow. I like that you said that, because I'm telling folks, a lot of folks move here to Mexico and they get overwhelmed with the language barrier. And I keep telling folks that, hey, there are other countries where English is spoken widely. Do the research and find those countries. And the language barriers is one of those things you won't have to worry about. So I'm glad to hear. So English speaking and people are very proud. Life with Shay, definitely ready for a change. Hubby listens to his Mexican-American co-workers that said, don't go to Mexico, but I plan to visit Merida. He's going to go too. Yeah, definitely come check it out, man. It's I don't know why them folks telling them telling your husband not to come to Mexico. Now it depends on what part of Mexico they from, because like I said, there are some pretty dangerous places in Mexico that you may not want to go to. So I get it. I just posted a link. If any of y'all want to hop up and share any of your stories, it'll bring you up on the screen. And you can talk and just share your experiences with some of the places that you've been to. I'm kind of curious to hear. Barbados is reasonable, expensive in tourist areas. And that's what it was like on that island where we lived in that island in Florida, Amelia Island. The tourist areas was very expensive. But you go down the road a mile or two or 3 or 4, and you still get the benefit of living on the island. We lived on the other side of the island, and we didn't live right on the water, but we lived on the other side of the island that was further away from the water, and it was significantly cheap. And the beauty was we was only 5 minutes away from the beach, so no matter which direction we go, we 5 minutes from the water, and you still get all the perks and the benefits of living on the island. You know what I mean? So yeah, Barbados. Yeah, I'm gonna look into Barbados. I'm gonna look that up. So but yeah, it's like I said, y'all got options. You got options, y'all. Y'all don't have to be stuck. You don't have to stay in the same place. You can go at any time. And if you ever get bored of a particular place, you can go somewhere else. Once my kids are older and they're on their own and living their life, we're gonna hop up and go all over the globe and stay in different places. Some places we may get and stay for 3 months. Some places we may get and only stay for a week. And in some places we go, we may stay for a year. We'll have that freedom and that flexibility once these kids get a little older. I wish we started this journey a little earlier, but now they're in high school, and the goal really is just to kind of sit tight and stable a little bit, be a little stable until they finish, and then we're off to the races. So we live in Chicago. It's a beautiful city, lots to do, but too much crime and too cold. It's depressing sometimes. I know one time I passed through Chicago in the wintertime helping a friend move, and oh my God, that place was freezing. And I'm like, I don't know how folk could live here in this kind of weather. And it was cold, very cold. I definitely get it. She loves Cam asks, do most families in Merida take care of elderly or put them in nursing homes? The overwhelming majority take care of their elders. Nursing homes is not really thing here. They do have them, but it's not a big industry like it is in the United States. Most folks will keep their family member at home and take care of them themselves. It's not unusual to see 3 or 4 or even 4 generations all staying in the same house. The young taking care of the elders, the kids, the older adult kids taking care of the parents, the grandkids are taking care of the grandparents, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, so they tend not to put them in nursing homes here, which is a good thing. Now, however, there are more living assisted facilities starting to sprout up here in Merida, mainly due to, I would say, a large foreign expat population that's here. Because again, there are a lot of foreigners that have moved to Merida to retire, and many of them, of course, are retirement age. They're older, and they want assistance with their living. So in those cases, more assisted living facilities are starting to sprout up a little more. I would definitely be checking out Merida this year, especially after Saturday's live video of the City 32. That City 32 off the chain. They have this little wine and beer bar on the other side. I didn't get the chance to show that. I don't know. So it looked like they was having some kind of event that night because they had chairs pulled out and people were just sitting in the aisles. But they have this fantastic beer bar. I would go, me and a buddy would just go sit there and order a small vegetarian pizza and just sit there and drink and talk and just have a good time. And it's priced right. Now, there are a couple of expensive restaurants in that City 32 Plaza, but there are also a whole lot of other ones that are very, very affordable. They have coffee shops there, dessert shops there, and like I say, full-blown restaurants there. Rennie says, 2019, I traveled to Athens, Greece. My niece and myself was out walking at night. People didn't bother us. Athens, I hear that place is also very beautiful. Our brother went there, or was it Rome? Oh, that I don't know where he went. I think Athens. He just talked about the what's the word I'm looking for? Infrastructure, the architecture, which is mind-boggling. And he absolutely loved the place. And one of his favorite places was Vietnam. He absolutely loved some Vietnam. So yeah, man. Yeah, thank y'all. Yeah, again, if y'all have any places that you want to share where y'all been and that you've liked, please share it in the comments. Curious to see where y'all have went. And again, I posted a link in the comments if anybody wants to come up and share any of their experiences about anything, or if you just have questions and you want to come on and ask them, come on. Feel free to click that link or copy that link, and I'm going to make sure. And Kim, I don't know how to do that. If anybody's in here asking the log on, where would I look to see that at? Make sure no one is waiting to talk. Click.
Go to StreamYard.
I'm already.
Okay, you don't have to. It will show them at the bottom.
Okay.
So just pay attention.
All right. So she's just showing me how to use this thing. I'm not the most technically inclined on these things. Well, I am technically inclined, but learning new stuff, man, at 50 years old. And this is why I'm in Mexico now, because I'm like, I don't want to be sitting over this computer at 65 and 70, trying to keep up with all this stuff. I've been doing web design, web development, online marketing, social media management and marketing for 20 plus years. And my brain is slowing down. And this technology changes so fast. I don't want to do it no more. And I'm giving myself 5 more years, and I'm ready to be done with this stuff altogether. And I've shared my story before. I'm currently in Mexico because I need to get my finances together. In 15 years, I'll be 65. And as I mentioned before, I had no savings, no retirement, no 401k, none of that. And so at 50 years old, I see the writing on the wall that I need to fix this. And so the priority became, how can I fix it? And step one was to reduce our finances, reduce our expenses. I had to cut that in half. I was thinking, I'm like, what can I do to cut my expenses in half? And once I started breaking those numbers down, I was like, I would have to move into a rat hole in somewhere in the city. This is in the United States. And I was like, man, I ain't living in these places. And I'm like, man, some of these places are like, it'll be like living in the slum. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. So that triggered another thought was, well, if you need to cut your expenses by half, well, consider moving to a place where you get more for your money, where your money goes a lot farther or further. And so it was like, okay, let's go check out some places. Let's investigate. Let's do some research. And when I started looking online, and realized that, hey, man, we can get a nice 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom condo for like $300, $400 a month. This is when I was looking in Colombia. That's completely furnished and include the utilities, $300 and $400 and $500 a month, all that stuff included. And I was like, that is how we can drastically reduce our expenses by more than half. Let's move to Colombia. And that was the game plan. So, and this was 3 years ago. We had been to Colombia 8 years before. And so again, we quickly started remembering how affordable it was to live in Colombia. So let's move abroad. Let's move to another place where we can cut our costs by half. And so it was a short version of the story. We ended up in Mexico. And man, we've been able to reduce our expenses by over 50%. Significantly, more like 65, 70%. We were able to reduce our cost of living just by moving here. And now we are on track to saving more money, starting to invest, which is something I just recently started taking seriously in the last 6 months, starting to invest. And our goal is to buy a house in the next 18 months, pay for that cash. So we're trying to save every penny now so that we can meet our goals, so that we won't have a mortgage. If I'm being honest and transparent, I've always been a risk taker my whole life. So it's like, okay, let's get this house in these next 18 months. That way, no matter what boneheaded decision I make or risk I take, we'll always have a house. We'll always have a home to come back to. You know what I mean? So thus the sense of urgency to get this money saved and get this house. And, and plus, 15 years from now, when I turn 65, I'm taking advantage of these working years that I have on me right now. A good solid 10 years. We get rid of the mortgage, get solar panels and all of that stuff, get a car that's completely paid for, bring our living expenses down to where basically all we got to do is pay for groceries and pay a water bill. That's our goal. You know what I mean? To help offset our retirement and stuff like that. Because here, I mean, in a place like Mexico, or even a place like Colombia, or even a place like Vietnam, you don't need a whole lot of money to live on when you no longer have a mortgage or rent, and we have no car payments. You know what I'm saying? When all that goes away, you're free. You're free. I met folks that come down here on a pension of $1,500. They were struggling to live on $1,500 in the United States on their retirement. That $1,500 here gave them extra money at the end of the month, to the point now they have money left over that they can actually save and plan, and they can afford to fly back home to the States 1 or 2 times out the year, because now they had this extra money left over that they're able to save, and they can go visit grandkids and go visit family back in the States once or twice a year. So going from struggling to having money left over at the end of the month, and not having to miss out on buying pills, for their medication, because one, the cost of medication here is significantly less, and two, again, they have money left over where they can afford to buy their medicine and whatnot. So you got options, y'all. She Loves Cam says there are many school shootings in the U.S. That alone is enough for me to move and homeschool my children. Yep, we've been homeschooling our kids now for about 8 years, and it's a difference. You get to indoctrinate them with what you want to indoctrinate them with. You know what I mean? And safe, not having to worry about the violence and the crime and the bullying and all that other nonsense that goes along in the school system, and the indoctrination that the school system is now trying to put in on, instill in kids. It's a crime in itself, so yeah. So you definitely got some options. So yeah. So that's about it. I think I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Again, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, go ahead and subscribe. Make sure you hit the like button so we can get other folks attention in reading or accessing this information. Do you offer services for people moving to other parts of Mexico? In the moment, we don't. However, this year we plan to visit 2 to 3 other cities within Mexico, and probably going to hang around for a few months in each of those places. And I'm going to document those areas in the same way that I've done Merida. And then we're going to set up relationships and contacts in those cities if they check out. And at that point, we will be able to have offer services to other people, to people that are considering those other parts. Querétaro is one of those places. I'm gonna write that down because I know I'm pronouncing it wrong. I'm gonna put it in the comments. Okay. That's going to be one place. We're also looking at Cozumel, just doing some preliminary research, learning that it is actually quite affordable there. Now, of course, Cozumel is a tourist place, island, and a lot of ships pull into port there, the cruise ships, but there are other pockets and parts of Cozumel that's very affordable. So we're thinking about going to hang out there for a minute as well to check that out, and we'll document that area as well. So, like I say, 3 other cities we're going to investigate here in Mexico. My goal eventually is to come up with a top 10 list of affordable cities to live in and or retire in that are both safe and super affordable. And over the next couple of years, we're going to come up with this list of 10, and we're going to work those 10 cities. And not all of them will be in Mexico, but different parts of the world. Perhaps places like Argentina. We're going to go check that out. Maybe Southeast Asia. The only reason I'm hesitant about going to Southeast Asia is the distance. I don't know if I can tolerate these 30-hour plane rides and the cost to get there and the cost to get back. I had a friend whose daughter had to have emergency brain surgery, and the last minute ticket, buying a ticket the same day or the following day was like $10,000, and they had to scramble up and find $10,000, and they could only one of them could afford to go. So he sent the wife, you know what I mean? And, the dad, he couldn't go. The prices was outrageous. And, so whatever savings you have and whatever money you do save by living over there, that savings can be immediately be gone off of one emergency where you're required to get back to the States for whatever reason. So I don't know if we're going to explore those areas or not. Maybe, I don't know, but there's going to be 10 other cities. It's an 18-hour flight from Orlando, Florida to the Philippines. 18 hours, that ain't too bad. I might be able to break something up like that, stop in one place and stay for a week, halfway at the midway point, and then hop the other 9 hours straight into the Philippines. I hear the Philippines is nice and very affordable as well. So we're gonna check some things out. So just literally have been digging and doing research and data mining, trying to narrow down 10 places to go investigate. Well, 20 places to go investigate, and then narrow it down to 10. So that's why, I was asking y'all earlier if there are any off the path places that y'all have been to. Please share those so that I can look into it and find a hidden gem. You know what I mean? Where most people are not familiar with and whatnot. So yeah. Also, I want to mention again, this Sunday, we will be having a live virtual meeting, and I'm typing in that web address, Move Abroad and Thrive. We will be having a virtual live meeting with a real estate attorney and an immigration attorney, both local Mexicans here in Merida. If you are part of our VIP member group, that live will be held on Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. You'll be able to talk to the real estate attorney and the immigration attorney, and you can ask them anything you want related to immigrations or real estate or buying property in Mexico. So if you have any questions about that, you might want to join and get on that call this Sunday. So like I said, an immigration attorney and a real estate attorney. So if you have questions about buying real estate, setting up trust, buying property or land near a beach town or near a border town, because there's some stipulations you got to follow, you'll be able to ask those questions directly to the attorneys on the live. You'll be talking to them directly. You look great, Cortez. I know you're eating that clean food, hence why you lost weight. None of the BS GMO like in the States. Many blessings to you and the family. Thank you for your kindness. Yeah, that GMO, man, that stuff is a real thing back in them States. I met so many folks here that come here. They didn't do no exercising. They ain't joined any fitness programs. The only thing that changed was simply the food that they was eating, and they losing weight falling off of them, coming off of their medications, just simply by the difference. The same food they was eating at home, but didn't have all that junk in the food, the GMOs, the hormones, all the crazy mixture of antibiotics. Ain't no telling what they doing in those food labs. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy. It's crazy. The food definitely is different here. The quality of food is drastically different. I've been following your journey, and you lost a lot of weight. Thank you. Yeah, I gained some of it back since I got this doggone car. The house that we rented, it came with a car included, and and I've been driving that car for the last 4 months. Because when we first got here, we just took Uber everywhere, and if y'all recall, most of my videos from the beginning was of me walking around the different neighborhoods in Merida, all over Mexico. And so it wasn't unusual to be getting 20,000 and 30,000 steps in per day. So that was dropping, making the weight drop. But but yeah, I've been in that rental car, man. I done got spoiled and put on a few more pounds as a result of not walking as much. I was just telling Kim the other day, I'm gonna get back to my roots. And the roots is getting back out here on these Merida streets and walking them and filming and recording. And that's why I'm excited about going to places like Cozumel, Querétaro, so I can kind of get back out there on the ground and highlight these new places and these new towns and whatnot. I got Denmark on my short list. I got Iceland on my short list, and I got New Zealand on my short list. So hopefully between now and next year, we'll get a chance to visit all of those places and some more. Hopefully, I got to check the distance on how far those places are. So yeah, we're gonna get back to the roots of making those videos sooner than later. So yeah, well, it's been fun hanging out with y'all for the last hour. I appreciate y'all coming on. Again, make sure you please hit the like button just to get this video out. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button so you can get notifications and updates of our next round of videos. And again, if you haven't already, join our free newsletter at the website Thrive Abroad. So our Thrive Abroad newsletter, we share tips and resources and information about moving abroad. And you can get on that newsletter at www.moveabroadandthrive.com, www.moveabroadandthrive.com. And make sure you sign up for the VIP so that you can hop on this call this Sunday and talk to the real estate attorney and the local immigration attorney for Mexico. Thank y'all for watching. Y'all have a wonderful day. Stay blessed.